Yo, boys, welcome back. Just kept waiting for this summer to cool off. There's no end in sight. So obviously we are leading off with Donald Trump back in the news. This time, wow, we're going to get this all out in one breath. Allegedly, the former president has stolen classified documents from the West Wing. All sorts of rumors are flying about what's in them. The nuke word is showing up. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly makes the story worth telling. I will quote briefly from the Washington Post to get us situated in the story. We will then move on to some plays for degeneracy and political prediction. And then I will welcome a very special call-in guest today. So first, I'm going to quote from the Washington Post. Quote, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced Thursday that the Justice Department has filed a motion for a judge to unseal the court-authorized warrant that led FBI agents to search the Florida residence of former President Trump. Okay, so once again, the pretext of this is that Trump took classified documents from the White House, stuck them in the closet at Mar-a-Lago. The Washington Post continued that, quote, the investigation into the improper handling of documents began months ago when the National Archives and Records Administration, who knew there was a bureaucracy called that, sought the return of material improperly taken to Mar-a-Lago from the White House. 15 boxes of documents, items, some of them marked classified, were returned earlier this year. The archives subsequently asked the Justice Department to investigate. So we don't know what they took. We don't know why they took it. But we do have someone that many people have said is actually the greatest political gambler in history. You might have recalled him pulling off the Rain Man sweep in the 2020 election. He's on vacation right now, but because he cares so much about you, Zoltar, the all-knowing, is here. Zoltar, first of all, was the Zolt Army rewarded for that Kerry Lake pick that you made last week?
Hell's bells they were. I told them to take that chica at around 83 cents. The writing was on the wall, and she did a great job. She actually it looked a little like it was going to be a photo finish, but those who trusted in Zoltar stayed strong and made some money on that one. I think it was 20% in about a month and a half.
You know what they say about those who trust in Zoltar, right?
They are rewarded. They are rewarded, and soon I'll be referred to as the SSG champ, Zoltar, the all-knowing.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. You're in a live title match. I think you're the favorite right now. Well, actually, we might have to address a little bit of that in this podcast.
Yeah, but the Mar-a-Lago thing has definitely added a wrinkle to this situation. It's a question of, is there a broken arrow scenario involving Mr. Trump? Who cares? What I care about is how I could make 20% return in 2 weeks, and I'm about to tell you how to do that.
Okay. So let me get the audience caught up. So you're calling in from vacay. Maybe you've been drinking some Modelo's on a houseboat
from the beautiful lakes of Michigan.
Yeah, it's definitely a little cooler there than Miami right now, right, my guy?
Mm-hmm. Hell's bells.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna call in. You're gonna drop a little truth bomb on us in the old Zoltar truth bombing spirit. Pratik and I are gonna hang around and debate it a little bit. But why don't you open our minds to what Trump's gonna do? You've always been very good at knowing. Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll shed a little light on the genius that is Zoltar and how I make my picks. So this one was just a little wrinkle I noticed in the news that might have gone over a lot of degenerate gamblers' heads, but because one with the Zolt Army, I'm going to shed it your way and show you how you can take little nuggets out of the news and make some money out of them. So this one is, news was FBI, 30 agents raided Mar-a-Lago, West Palm Beach, took a bunch of documents. But what I noticed is the news said that the FBI agents took, I don't know, something like 15, 20 boxes of documents without looking at the documents first. Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that they are in a doc review situation, which is the bottom feeders of the legal profession. They basically have these programs that scan documents, thousands and thousands of documents, highlight keywords, and a bunch of law school graduates who can't get jobs at law firms sit there for hours of mind-numbing, tedious work of just reading document after document after document and flagging the ones that seem essential. Then those go to supervising attorneys who look at those documents, flag the ones that are important. We call them the hot docs. Without getting too far into the weeds, it takes about 2 weeks at least to go through that process. God knows how many documents they took from Trump, but apparently they raided every room, tried to get into safes, all that fun stuff. So I'm imagining thousands of documents. Sure, this is a high priority, and sure, they're going to have a big team of people working on it. But I see that taking at least 2 weeks. That's just to review those documents, much less do the legal analysis provided and meetings and all that on which charges we're going to go forward with. Long story short, not going to happen the next 2 weeks. One half of the Zoltar SSG championship belt will come through. And if you want to make, right now, I think it's at 83 cents. So if you want to make 17% in 2 weeks, take the no indictment.
No indictment by September 1st on PredictIt.
Will be. That is correct. Georgia's, I think, is at like 95 cents. So don't even bother. But the just universal, will he be indicted by September 1st? That's an easy no. So take that. You'll get about 17% in 2 weeks, and you can thank me later.
Zoltar, can you shed? So we've got some big questions that we're going to be talking about once you kind of go back to reigning over your kingdom in the Great Lakes. What happens if, like me, the enterprising attorney, discovers on like day 2 of doc review that like I am actually looking at the plans for like Minuteman ballistic missiles and like how Kim Jong-un can intercept them?
But even if they have a document that's dead to rights, we got them. They're still going to go through all the documents to see if there's something even better or additional documents to support that document. They're not going to just get one document and then it's over. They still have to go through all 10,000, 20,000 documents they have. And if you remember, this is kind of what happened with Comey when he was going through the Clinton thing. He said, "Oh, we got a team of FBI agents and we're all scouring through them." And it was like a big deal that he, pushed it through. I think, what was it, like a week? And he said, "Oh, we went through and there's nothing." Okay, there's no similar pressure in this situation. There's no, we got to get it done in a week or the whole world ends. So they're going to take at least 2 weeks to go through all these documents. And even when they go through all those documents, then they got to do legal research and analysis on what they did find. It's just not.
So Merrick Garland is like a young man at the bar on Saturday night. Like, he's not settling for the first, young filly who gives him a phone number, 9 p.m. Like, he is waiting until closing time to see what his options are.
Yeah, I think they're going to go after Trump on an obstruction charge. And if they do, it's going to take some time, and they're going to try to get as many documents as they can to find the best example of him obstructing discovery or some BS charge like that. It's going to be a technical violation, and they want to make sure they have the best charges that they bring against them. So they're going to go through every document they can find. This is just another fishing expedition for them to see if there's something that they can hang their hat on when they indict them. I think it's starting to look like they're going to indict them no matter what. It's just a question of what is the best evidence charge they can get against them. And right now, it looks like, based on the leaks, who knows if it's true or not, but it looks like the best shot they have is for him taking documents from archives or not submitting them to archives timely. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to some form of an obstruction charge they have against them on the national level. Georgia is a whole different ballgame, but we talked about that in a prior podcast.
You want to jump in here?
Also, do you want to comment on the question at stake in the title belt, which maybe you can remind people what it is, but essentially about Trump running?
Yes. So, this was a double header against Vanilla Vice. On the first bet was he going to be indicted anywhere? That's looking good for the reasons we just discussed. And then the second one is he going to declare his candidacy? And I say no, and the reason I'm saying no on that one, this is more of a me being hive-minded with Trump, gut feeling, is that everyone knows he's running. Like, him declaring that he's running now has a clear, undeniable financial loss coming his way. But does it really benefit him? Like, he can still say his charge. Right now, he's saying the raid on his office was political. Does the fact that he's not yet running, change that? No, I don't think there's much to gain. Plus, he can just leak to the press that he's about to announce, and he gets all the press about announcing anyway. So I don't see much reward for him announcing early. I do see a lot of loss. And I found a quote from him somewhere, a couple of weeks ago, where he said, "Yeah, I would tell you now, but my lawyers say financially that's not in my best interest." I don't think his opinion in that is going to change. Like, when I heard that quote, I said, "Ding, ding, ding." That's his mentality. That's his viewpoint of what's going on. He clearly knows that the financial contributions get curtailed if he declares early, so he's going to wait till at least the November elections and then probably declare.
All right, Zoltar, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So for reference on PredictIt, will Trump file to run for president before 2023? The yes is trading at 55%, so you can buy no at 45%. It sounds like you would take that.
Right. I would take that, and I would consider strongly selling it right before the November elections, because you could get cucked in that last month before the new year. So, if it goes from 40 to 75, just kind of take the profits. Don't be too greedy.
True.
Kids get slaughtered. And don't get cucked.
True. And if you're Donald
month.
Trump, you need to move a lot of MAGA hoodies and sweatpants over Christmas. Christmas is prime time for selling merch, and I think a presidential campaign helps.
That's a good point. Merch. Yeah, I definitely get all my liberal relatives MAGA hats and things like that for Christmas as a sarcastic gift.
I'm sure they
appreciate. I think they really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. I think buying the no at 45% is a very good deal. Certainly, I would say don't hold it until after the midterms, but I think there's a good chance you get a decent return even by the end of September or so.
Zoltar, one last question, and then you can return back to your genie's lamp. If it turns out that, look, everything with Donald Trump is very sensationalist and has been, but if it actually does turn out that he's like selling national security secrets, how to identify stealth fighters or something like that, will the MAGA faithful turn on Trump?
No. They will. The FBI has reached such a level of distrust that I think, and I've seen some of the news outlets pushing this already, I think the narrative will be that they doctored those documents. And I think it's enough for the MAGA faithful to believe it. So in a way, it doesn't even matter what comes out. Trump, I think, is still going to be the number one GOP. Now, don't forget, I'm strong on DeSantis. I have been for the last 2 years. And I'm holding on to that DeSantis, but I'm starting to get a little more nervous because I think this raid in Mar-a-Lago is actually going to help the GOP more than the Dems. And it's put some fear in Republican voters, because they're saying, oh my God, this is almost turning into a dictatorship before our eyes. And, the IRS is going to go after us. The FBI is targeting us. Like, we got to get these guys out of here. So I think this recent raid is actually going to boomerang and help the GOP and Trump more than the Democrats thought it would.
I want to ask you one more question before you go. It sounds like we're both in agreement that an indictment is coming. I agree with you. September 1st indictment would be pushing it. But do you have a view on timing? Do you think it'll happen before the end of the year?
I think it's going to be really close. September is way too early. That's an easy no. But November, December, now it's where I'm not going to even touch it. I could see it going either way. I think there's a lot of pressure to indict. I still think it's probably not going to happen on a national, but there's a good chance they get them on some technical obstruction, something or other. And I still think the Georgia one's got a really good shot of going through, just as the indictment. But then you got to ask yourself, do they want the president going through trial, like while he's running for office? What if he gets indicted, or if he gets exonerated, or they drop the charges? Like then he looks like a hero. There's just a lot, but it seems like they've put all their chips in. They're going in heavy for the indictment. And I would be shocked if it doesn't happen in Georgia or nationally. I think there's a very good shot it happens on just a national scale with the FBI, but I'm not touching that. It's too hot for me. I could see it going either way. Georgia's definitely no, and all of them are definitely a no before September. After September, it's too much for me. I'm just going to wait and see if I can get some more info. But don't forget, one of my major rules, and I learned this in the Flynn case, is legal precedent and knowledge and experience. Throw it out the window when you're dealing with a highly politicized case, because it doesn't matter what the precedent is. It doesn't matter what the law is. It doesn't matter, what happened before in similar cases. If it's a highly politicized thing, anything can happen. And I think this is as politicized as it gets, and the powers that be definitely want an indictment. So I think one of these people, or if not both, are going to fold, and there's going to be some type of indictment.
Yeah, on Polymarket, I think has the best market here. They have both a October 1st and a December 31st deadline on the indictment. October 1st is trading at 8%. December 31st is trading at 27%. I think that's a buy. I'm willing to take it at that price for the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I would take December. October, you could get a long shot there. I don't think that's a bad bet, but I like to do the ones where I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. So on that one, I would probably just take the December and hope for the long shot. I think you have a decent shot if something happens. Because don't forget, there's a lot of pressure for them to get this indictment in as early as possible so they can say they're not trying to influence the presidential election. So, October, December is much better for them politically than, February, March indictment. So, I think the pressure's there, and I think, it might happen January 1st, and you'll be mad, but it's going to be pretty damn
All right,
close.
Zoltar, well, you've given us a lot to chew on. You were kind to join us from your vacation, and I hope your beard is just sun-streaked and, your skin is tan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm growing some grays. I'm growing some grays for the first time.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed that.
Well, thank you for joining us, and more to follow from Pratik and me for the boys listening. Boy, I know better than to script a Zoltar episode because I just know we're going to get solid gold for him. Pratik, I was thinking the way that, I don't like doing anything in a straight-laced way. Maybe we could just run down some of the characters in this game that we're talking about and maybe come to a conclusion about what we think they'll do and how we'll bet. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
How would you feel about a little alpha dog, beta boy?
Okay.
All right, speed round, though. Merrick Garland. I think Merrick Garland's clearly an alpha dog here. He's owning what he's up to. I was gonna give Joe Biden a beta boy chain though. I heard his I don't even know his press secretary's name anymore. Jean Pierre or whatever it is. What's her name? Karine Jean Pierre.
I don't remember her name. She's been a disaster, but yeah. Anyway.
Absolute F minus. So I was gonna actually give Merrick Garland a little alpha dog chain for owning this. Joe Biden gonna give him a little beta boy. For claiming that he's only finding out about this from the press. Am I off base here?
Oh, so I think that's an alpha move. I mean, he has to. He obviously there are suspicions, and the MAGA crowd's going to say this is political and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's not fundamentally about MAGA. It's about really bringing a sizable majority of the country into believing that this kind of legal intervention against a former president is worthwhile. There's nothing Biden can say here that I think would help that case. I think the best he can do is show restraint, which is a very hard thing to do for any president. The fact that he's able to do that, I think, shows political maturity and good judgment.
Right. I mean, I guess it's just, you know what, you're right. You're always right. Well, then let's go. So I'm sort of tracking this by two bets. So I'm tracking this by, Zoltar was talking about a September 1st indictment, which is over on PredictIt. That's like a 90-10 market on most days that we won't see a Trump indictment by September 1st. The other one I'm tracking is the sort of most over the horizon date on Polymarket is December 31st. So I was going to ask you, how do you feel about people that are actually betting on this September 1st indictment? I mean, that's the drum cadence in the press is the DOJ is going to move extremely fast. They've got a lot to explain right now. Like, they just need to move fast and dispose of this case. I mean, are these guys, is this an alpha move to be taking that 10-1 long shot that they do cough up an indictment in the next 2.5 weeks?
I don't think so. I mean, look, obviously, I'm sure there are probably people who were buying the yes maybe a couple days ago. I would have probably argued that they shouldn't be doing that, but every time something happens in the news, you can sort of look at the market panic, get a bump from that. So I don't know, maybe people are buying it not with the idea of holding it, but just you figure, I mean, we have 20 more days in August, which is kind of an eternity in a Trump news cycle. So maybe there's kind of people buying, hoping to flip, and someone will be holding the bag at the end. But to think that there's actually going to be an indictment in the next couple of weeks, I think is pushing it.
And then my second bracket is December 31st. That's a 27%, 27 cent yes share on Polymarket. Zoltar was giving me a reason not to like this. I was starting to like this play, but he made an interesting point about indicting the former president in October or November does feel a little bit like a politically manufactured October surprise. Is that too much of a stretch?
I mean, as I was saying with Zoltar, I like it at 27%. I mean, you just look at I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I mean, look at all the legal problems Trump is facing. I mean, there's Georgia, how many different federal things going on, right? I mean, people,
New York.
Yeah, and just, I mean, let's dwell on the federal side for a minute. I mean, we all thought until a couple of days ago that January 6th was kind of the epitome of Trump's problems. I mean, that alone, I think there were very good reasons to believe that there would be indictments coming from that. I mean, if these reports are true about Trump smuggling nuclear secrets, I mean, you're looking at a situation where Trump's legal problems with January 6th are becoming a secondary concern for him. And then now
inciting an insurrection rides in the back seat too, like selling nuclear launch codes, you mean?
Yeah. And then, I mean, as Zoltar was saying, now that this is escalating with the nuclear thing, think about all the process crimes, right? Obstruction and so forth that are suddenly on the table. And then, yes, I mean, concurrently with all this, there's the New York investigation going on. So I would actually be interested in, maybe we can find someone, or maybe if you're listening, you're on the other side. If you have a strong view as to why no at 73% by the end of the year is a good buy, I would be very interested in hearing that argument, because I can certainly see an argument for why an indictment won't happen this year, but why you'd be paying 73 cents for it, I think I'm just fundamentally missing something here.
Okay, so I have two big weaknesses as a trader. The first weakness is that I have a tendency sometimes to not take bets on the Hill because I think that there'll be some bipartisan miracle, or that the Republicans will show restraint. So I make that mistake a lot. Another mistake that I make is that sometimes I'm a huge narrative cuck, where I'll just really, really, really get like punch drunk on whatever the story of the day is, and then you try and fight your bias, and then sometimes it's like worse because you're overcorrecting. But that is all my way of saying, pretend for a minute that it comes out that, like, for real, Trump really was selling like you pick esoteric national security secret, like I'm thinking like Hunt for the Red October stuff, like how to find a nuclear submarine in the South China Sea, or like, and like, I'm willing to bite on this Trump conspiracy theory. I'm not willing to bite on many Trump conspiracy theories, but I could totally see him being like, well, I can't really afford my legal bills and I don't want to be poor, so I'll just like sell some innocuous national security secrets to bad actors. But so pretend for a second that conspiracy theory comes true. I know that it's popular to say that there's nothing that can keep MAGA people from being MAGA people. But how is there a red wave in November if on tape all of these Republicans are swearing their loyalty, like I'm the most pro-Trump candidate, and voters find out that Trump is like trafficking nuclear arms to North Korea or like Saudi Arabia or something like that? Like that, there has to be a line somewhere, right? Doesn't there? Like, these are people who wear like the America fuck yeah t-shirts.
Well, I mean, sure. Look, I mean, you look at the January 6th committee hearings, everyone's saying, oh, this is a partisan hit job, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But who are actually the witnesses, right? I mean, the most damning, compelling evidence has come from people not only who are Trump supporters, but people who worked for Trump and were loyal enough to the guy to be there till the end of the administration. I mean, keep in mind how many people from the time Trump announced for president, right up until the end of his term, how many people, loyal people to Trump, by that time had already gone through the cycle of like working for him and then concluding that they couldn't deal with it. So already all these people who are flipping on him are at the end of the day pretty loyal Republicans and loyal Trump supporters. I mean, now with this, now the question is, okay, who else is going to turn on Trump? I mean, I think one of the patterns that we've seen with Trump, and the reason why I'm so bearish on the guy, is that it is literally impossible to get close to the guy right before at a certain point you just end up not being able to deal with it. I mean, and you see that pattern with everyone in the guy's life. I mean, his multiple wives, he was even ready to throw Ivanka under the bus. Do I really think Jared Kushner is going to stay loyal to the guy if the FBI is knocking on his door? I mean, well, right there.
Yeah, forget that. Who do you think the mole? If people keep saying there's an informant, I'm like, how about Jared and Ivanka? Like, those feel like informants.
Yeah, so I don't think that there's anyone he can trust, and I'm very skeptical that even now the worst has come for Trump. So again, I am more than happy to say 27% between now and December on an indictment with all that's in the air. I'm almost so confident of this that I feel like I'm missing something big. So again,
that's how I feel too.
If you have a contrary view on this, I'd be very interested in hearing about it. Here on the show.
I can't believe if they're actually going to indict Donald Trump for doing what the narrative cucks say happened, national security secrets, whatever. Why would they sit on that for 2 months or something like that? It feels like if this is what it was said to be. Now, I know we've seen P tapes and meetings in Prague and all sorts of things that were fake news, but you don't raid the former president's house because you're bored. There has to be a big fish at the end of this poll. So narrative cut keen dog right here.
Well, let me. You made an important point there actually that I think is worth dwelling on a bit. I mean, this actually may be part of the explanation on why the market price is what it is, because the argument is basically, okay, from the time Trump came into office, I mean, in fact, even before he came into office, right, you've had this entire news cycle and industry of people saying, oh, Trump violated campaign finance laws, he harassed women, the Trump organization was engaged, right? So the idea is we keep hearing about Trump illegalities. If it hasn't happened, if nothing has happened yet, why would it happen now? And to me, I think there's a very simple answer here, which is that according to the way the Constitution has been interpreted and DOJ practices are, a sitting president enjoys enormous immunities, right? I mean, throughout his presidency, Trump did things that as a private citizen, he'd be screwed for. He doesn't have that protection anymore. And that alone, I think, is a game changer among many other reasons.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to extrapolate a point that might make me look very foolish, which is I don't see, at the end of the day, if the worst is true about Trump and he really is selling serious national security secrets to pay his legal bills in New York and Georgia, how would he receive a single vote other than the 30% of people who have nothing to do other than order new MAGA sweatpants every Friday night? Who is really going to vote for him?
Well, I mean, if it's 30%, as you say, right? I mean, that is enough to win a Republican primary.
Sorry, not him. I'm talking about the midterms.
Oh, well, that's the other reason why I am saying short the idea of Trump announcing anytime soon. I don't think he's in a weak position necessarily. I mean, he still certainly enjoys a strong contingent of support in the Republican Party, but I don't think his position is so strong that he could basically say no to the Republican establishment if they put a lot of pressure on him to delay until after the midterms.
Why? What are they gonna do to him? Write a nastygram?
I just think that I just think it's kind of a symbiotic relationship now, right? I mean, Trump, they're afraid of Trump because Trump has a certain command over the base, but Trump also relies on acquiescence from the establishment. He relies on them for fundraising, for basically looking the other way.
Does he though? I thought the whole problem in Republican politics was Trump did all the fundraising, kept it for himself, and rank and file candidates don't have money right now.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, look, the fact that members of Congress are willing to not denounce him, no matter what he does. The fact that he still gets deference and his endorsement still matters. I mean, these are things that rely on a certain kind of understanding with the Republican establishment, with the RNC and so forth. Whether or not there's a line with hardcore MAGA Republican voters, I think there is a line with Republican members of Congress and the Republican establishment. And I think one way Trump can keep them on board is by deferring to them when they really want something. And I think the last thing they want is a Trump presidential announcement before the midterms.
I think so too. I think so too. And he would give them all the cover they needed to blow him out of the water if he was in fact selling arms secrets or something like that to foreign powers. That's like that line is not one that you can't unring that bell. Okay, well, I've said my piece. We have a whole other segment of this podcast that we got to get to. So do you want to just kiss us goodnight?
Yeah, I'll make one very quick point here, which is that, on the question of red lines for Republican senators and so forth, let's keep in mind what is the one issue where consistently Congress, including Republican members of Congress, were willing to buck Trump throughout his presidency. It was in the realm of national security and foreign policy over and over again, on NATO, on a whole array of issues. That was the one thing where they felt at liberty to go up against Trump. So I agree with you. I mean, he's in dangerous waters here.
Yeah. Could be so dangerous. Again, narrative cuck take here. Dangerous enough that it does make me worry about those gimme bets on some of the Republicans that we're actually about to make in this pre-recorded segment that we're going to. Not pre-recorded, live recorded, but I know what we're going to say. Okay, all right. Let's put down these mics and pick up the next set, okay? He never says goodbye.